Just doing a video today talking about some advice for rookies that they wouldn't normally get. It's a video I've been working on for a couple of days, and I've actually got a bit of a script for once. Hopefully I'm going to be able to read through it without having to edit anything because I'm still recording on my phone. So hopefully I'm going to be able to go through it all. But I will be sort of veering off to the side to sort of remind myself of what I wanted to say next, and so on and so forth as I go. But basically, yeah, I thought with Sidekick Night kicking off in the UK and with it's probably still going in the US, although I don't really know because you saw light years ahead of us with sort of various things. I thought it'd be helpful to give some advice for rookies that you won't necessarily get or necessarily think of from like other players won't necessarily give you. Because if you're a yellow ring, and that's a joke you'll only understand when you become a red ring, then there is a few things you want to avoid and a few things that you want to do to make sure you have the best experience getting into the game. So the first thing I thought I'd want to give is buying advice, because I think that's an obvious place to start really. So I'd say you only want to invest as much as you know you're actually going to play. I mean, invest whatever you think is appropriate for how much you are going to play the game, but you know, unless you actually just like having the stuff, then you know, don't paying too hard, because you know if you could easily just turn around and not actually like the game, or you just might not have time to play it. Something might happen, and if you buy too much, especially like boosters and stuff, and then you have loads of commons, it's going to be harder to get rid of them unless you go like online, or unless you bulk sale them, or unless you have people to sell them to. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I say, unless you're happy to just have the stuff. Like my friend Dave has a big army of Tyranids, and they're fucking cool as. And I know he spent a lot of money on it, but he's only had like a handful of Warhammer games ever in his life, and like he's not used them very much. But I know he likes having them because he's more of a collecty person. So if you want to have them, then fair enough. Absolutely disregard. It's absolutely fine. But unless if you're actually just wanting them to play, then you want to pay as much as you know you're actually going to play. In saying that, you need to buy the figures you actually want to play, even if they are meta figures. You need to get those rather than buying whatever is the top team at the time, because it's about making a team your way, not someone else's way. There's no net decking in this game. It's, you can copy ideas off people. You can use the same thing other people are using because it's just good and it's obviously good. But we don't want to use as the entire team comp of somebody, because you can, but where's the fun in that? That's really not the point of the game. And when you're just starting out, you're not you can't expect you to win like with like every game just because you have the best team. I mean, if you're going up against skilled players and you don't know how to outplay the game, then you're not going to win necessarily unless the team is just that point and click that it doesn't matter, which admittedly is very often. I mean, the top team played by a new player is never going to be as successful as you expect. I've seen it myself. But yeah, you can buy the best stuff if you want, but I would advise you just buy whatever is good that you would like. There are a lot of cheap versions of the X-Men and Spider-Man family, and I still haven't got a better example than that from my last video. But yeah, it's easy to get the figures you actually want, pick characters you actually like. That being said, you kind of need to not expect to always win. You can't expect to be good at Heroclix straight away. It's just a learning process, really. And on the note of getting what you want, you need to look around to know what's available. I mean, there's plenty of figures that are just good because you like them. Once you know how to play, you're gonna see things and think, yeah, I like the way that plays, and so on and so forth, even if you've never heard of the character before. And that's one of the beautiful things about the game. There's just good figures that come out of nowhere, and you really like the way they play, or they're really good, and then you like the character because you've played the game, and then when there's another one coming out, you get the next one. This it's a good thing to introduce you to more obscure characters, and so on and so forth. So you definitely want to look around at what's available. What different sets of like superhero teams and stuff you could be interested in, what you could get, and you need to know what's good and all that sort of stuff. And one thing I'd advise is don't judge figures, because I even do this now, and it's like if If you can't understand why a figure is supposed to be good, find out why it's supposed to be good. Because sometimes it just isn't obvious to one person. My mind isn't really a very processy one, so I don't look at a figure and think that's going to combo with that really well. I mean, sometimes I will, but not often. So, you know, there's a lot of like podcasts, YouTube reviews, like set reviews and stuff like that. And there's primers on HC Realms as well, which basically walk you through why figures are good and bad. And they'll help you really well. Then once you've found the figures you actually want to get, you need to shop around. There's not too many internet stores, and sometimes it's quite frustrating trying to find one, but there's a lot of eBay sellers, there's a lot of varied prices, and of course you can trade with other people in the community, you can mail trade and so on and so forth. And you need to find the best price, because you're just starting out, you don't want to pay too much. You can use Tron and Toad and Cool Stuff, and they have really good prices for stuff, but you need to be really careful with customs if you don't live in the US, because I've been burned multiple times, even though I haven't gone over the price. Like, I was burned on a Deadpool figure a couple of months ago, even though it wasn't over my price tariff, because it'd been marked up by CSI. And what did they give me for my £15 customs investment? A $5 gift certificate, which I'm yet to use. So yeah, you need to be careful with that. And that being said, like, although you want to get the best prices on the stuff you want to get, you don't want to massively undervalue your own stuff. You don't want to trade chases for like a couple of commons just because you want them, just to like make friends or whatever. Because, you know, you're there to build up a collection, and you know, if you just completely lose your value straight away, then it's going to be difficult to do that. And that being said, you don't need to be feel pressured into trading anything, and you definitely don't want to pressure anyone into trading something, because that's just not nice. And likely you're just going to lose friends that way, because even if they don't trade you it, you're going to have annoyed them. So, you know. And one thing you need to do, especially if you're going to start postal trading and trading with people at locals, is you need to understand the market. I mean, it's a weird miniatures game, because factory errors like having glue all over the base or having paint in the wrong place on the figure doesn't really change the value unless someone's being really picky. You need to remember that, because if anyone does try and value something down because of a factory error, it's not your fault. I mean, you can't do anything about it. It's WizKids. They have atrocious quality control, and you'll come to learn this very quickly. If something has like an arm missing or something, then fair enough, someone's not going to pay as much for it. But quite often, if people can fix it, or it's already been fixed, they don't really mind that much. They might knock a couple of pounds or dollars or whatever off, but likely people aren't going to complain about it. But the important part there is that you want to remember that you don't have to value it down just because someone doesn't want paint in the wrong place. Someone else will pay for it just fine, I'm sure. Obviously this isn't going to work all the time, but you know, in most situations. Don't be a dick. I mean, I know a lot of like Yu-Gi-Oh players and all sorts, like specifically play mind games against their opponent, and it does work in some games, but that's not what you're here to do. You're not here to win the game this early on, and all you're going to achieve is that you're going to piss off the community, and then it's going to be frosty playing the game. You're going to lose valuable experience from experienced players, because they're going to explain to you as you're going along things you can be doing, things you need to remember, things you've forgotten, other things you can do. Like, people are there to help you, because if they grow the player base, then, you know, the store is better supported, and they just like having more people around. That's just how it works. Heroclix players teach other Heroclix players how to play the game, even when you've learned, even when you're not new. And it's valuable experience, and you don't want to piss people off like that. And even then, you're not going to have anyone to play with either. And this similar to this, don't rage quit, because you're going to lose friends quickly, and that means you're going to lose helpers. And you're not necessarily going to be good straight away, unless you're like my friend Anth, who was like, the first time he ever played the game, he came 6th in one of our War of the Light months, and then he got like these like Green Lanterns from it, and just went undefeated with them for like God knows how long against experienced players. He's just naturally really good at the game, and you know, I can't really say much else about that. But you're not necessarily going to be that good, and you'll get there, I'm sure. But it's not a game that's worth raging about, basically. And if you get frustrated early on, you're not going to play very long, because there's plenty of frustrating stuff that comes out in the game that still annoys me. You know, if you get annoyed about all the Goblin Kings and stuff that turn up and just wreck everything, then you're not going to play for very long. Like, if you're raging at the regular game, you're not going to play long when the big stuff comes out. My advice here would be, maybe check out the returning players video I've already done. One more thing I can say on the matter is, I have rage quit a Heroclix many times when I was a kid, when I was a teen, even like nowadays. Like not often now, but it's more like if the dice are going wrong. I just don't like losing because of dice, but it is part of the game. But like when we started doing events at my locals, we were fucking notoriously bad at rage quitting and getting, not even raging, like just being depressed about losing and stuff. And it's really not the point, especially early in the game. It's all a learning experience. But at the time, I personally, and the other people who were pretty bad for it, we were actually like depressed people. So I've cheered up now. It's all fine. I was like incredibly depressed back a couple of years ago. So it was it was more of a thing for me. But anyway, we're gonna get off this note now. Moral is, don't rage quit, because it's not worth getting annoyed about. And that being said about being a dick and not rage quitting and so forth, you need to get yourself out there. Get yourself in the Facebook groups, HC Realms, even Instagram is really good. There's some really good people on there. And get to locals and so on and so forth. Meet people, try some trades and so on. There are great people in the community. There's some scammers too, and some real dicks. But there are good people too. And, they're going to really help you play the game. And you need to know them as long as you can, really, and play against them and so on and so forth. On that note, you want to be careful buying boosters, specifically when there's like only 2 or 3 left. Because if you want supers and stuff, if you just want the figures, it's fine. But if you're expecting supers and stuff, the last 2 boosters in the store may have been ignored because there's nothing in them. Like, the community in the store will know, have all the super rares gone, have the chasers gone, and if there's been no more bricks to put out after that, the boosters have just been left there, then it's because everyone's lost interest in the set and they've taken all of the supers out of those boosters and now they have no interest in what's left. This is more common with slightly older sets, and it's not always going to be the case, don't get me wrong, but it is quite possible. It's something you need to be aware of. And the last thing is quite a practical note. Read the rules and the pack. Know what different types of actions there are and so on and so forth, and what powers activate what actions, and therefore what powers combo, because there in a lot of cases there, like, the wording is everything, and luckily this was all just simplified and a lot of rules have just been changed, so you're on the same level as a lot of people now. But people teaching you how to play the game are likely going to miss stuff out, especially like advanced rulings and so on and so forth, and you definitely want to check out WizKids.com rules updates as well. Some of the older ones are probably still quite important as well, so it's worth checking those out and keeping up to date. It's worth scanning HC Realms even every couple of days just to make sure there's nothing new that you've missed out on. And once you've got your figures and you've met the people you're going to be playing with, and you have bought everything safely, and you're ready to play, you've read the rules and the pack, once you've done that, don't half-ass it. Just play as much as you can. When my friend John started playing, he basically had the Yu-Gi-Oh starter, and then like slowly built it up with boosters and so on and so forth. And me and him and my friend Tomo, because this was back before we started having a proper locals for it, we used to just have 3-way games all day, every week. And Tomo was playing his Street Fighter figures, John was playing the Yu-Gi-Oh starter, and so on and so forth, and it was just a good laugh. And it's all valuable experience. Every game you play is valuable experience, especially tournaments. I mean, it lets you get a feel for other players, different play styles, team types, and so on. And there might be something you like that you haven't thought of. There's more to games than learning the rules. You need to learn like different team types, as I say, and different combos, what's out there, how different people might play the teams, and just generally why things work the way they do, what things are like in action, and so on and so forth. And like I say, it's gonna teach you a lot about like the tournament play especially is going to teach you a lot about what is out there in the game, and it's also going to give you prizes which are going to be worth money, and then you can either trade them off for more stuff, build up your collection, or they're going to strengthen your collection by being really good figures. So I think that's more or less it. So I'm going to put a link to the returning players video I was on about earlier in the description, just on the off chance it is going to help you at all. Please subscribe for more videos. I'm going to do some more sort of tutorial-y things, top 10 lists and stuff like that. And if you're wondering why I get to say that, you know, I get to advise you when I've got such a young face. I've been playing this game for 11 years, and around the time the Supernova set, and you know, I feel like, you know, I've been around the block a few times, and you know, all of this is just basic sort of my opinion, really, but I do genuinely think it is a valuable opinion because I have put the time into making this video. I've spent a couple of days thinking about it. I really have enjoyed putting it together. I've seen a lot of people start it. I've taught a lot of people the game and brought a lot of people in. So I really think like these are rules to be worth standing by, and a lot of it's just obvious. I mean, you don't want to get scammed. You want to look around for prices and stuff, and yeah, so on and so forth. So if there's anything I've forgotten, I will put it in another video if I come up with enough stuff. So please subscribe to check that out as well. Get yourself on Hasty Realms, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. Get yourself subscribed. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.